Welcome to the Katie Wellness Show, where you get the tools, knowledge, and inspiration you need to transform your health and wellness, body, mind, and spirit. You'll learn holistic and practical wellness strategies that empower you to reclaim your health and fully step into your power. You belong here as you learn to tap into your intuition to support your body every step of the way. Let go of what's no longer serving you and teach these tools and strategies to your family to raise emotionally and physically resilient children. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Katie Wellness Show. I am your host, Lindsey Katie. If you have been feeling like you needed to make some food swaps, particularly where like gluten or dairy is involved, I know that those are common triggers for digestive upset. I've talked about my journey with going gluten-free, and today's episode, I want to focus on tips and tricks to help you navigate. If you are someone who got a recent celiac disease diagnosis, or if you feel like you are just sensitive to gluten, you feel like you would benefit from taking gluten out. So gluten is a protein that is found in wheat products, so wheat and rye, and it can cause a lot of digestive upset, bloating, constipation, a lot of pain in the stomach. I took gluten out in the beginning because it is a common inflammatory food. And over the years, I've kind of played with what types of gluten does my body, is better? What types of gluten can I handle better than others? I thought for a long time, like, oh, I can do sourdough, but the self-control part of me knows that when I bake a fresh loaf of sourdough, I'm going to have 5 pieces, and my body does not do good with 5 pieces of sourdough. 1 is maybe okay. So part of it is also knowing my body, part of it is practicing self-control, and part of it is the quality of the ingredients that I'm using. So if you are on a journey to make some lifestyle food swaps, hopefully these tips from today's episode can help. First one, read the label. Learn to read the label. Learn to read the ingredient list. Companies are so tricky in how they package the item. They can have gluten-free written on it, or wheat-free, or whatever. They can have whatever they want written on the outside of the wrapper, but the label is what the ingredient list is what you want to be looking at. So don't just trust the advertising on the front of the packages that claims a food is gluten-free. What you want to watch for, what you want to look for on the back, so in the ingredient list, you want to avoid anything that says wheat, barley, rye, malt, brewer's yeast, and even sometimes oats, unless they are certified as gluten-free. So depending on how sensitive you are to gluten, always, always, always read the label. Read the label on sauces and condiments, things that you wouldn't think would have it in it. A lot of sauces or condiments can use wheat flour or whole wheat, whatever. They can use wheat flour as a thickening agent. So always read the label. If it doesn't come with a label, meaning you find it in the produce section, that's going to be a lot better option because it hasn't been, they're not going to pump apples full of wheat flour. So that is a more safe option, is to go with the whole food. Stick to the outside of the grocery store, the outside aisles. Second thing, just to be aware of, organic doesn't mean gluten-free. Okay, organic refers to the way a food was grown and processed. Gluten, like I said earlier, is a protein found inside of foods. So organic does not mean gluten-free. Something else to be aware of is gluten-free does not always mean low carb or healthy. Most gluten-free processed products are not necessarily more nutritious or fortified or enriched. That's just something to be aware of. So again, going back to number one, read the label. Make sure you know what is in the product and make sure you feel comfortable with the ingredients that are listed there. A lot of gluten-free products have to use gums, and like xanthan gum and guar gum. Those are binding agents, which in wheat products, as the wheat develops, it makes the bread products, especially bread products, more stretchy and gives it structure. Gluten-free flour does not contain that same structure, so they have to get the structure from gums and other binders. So again, make sure you're reading the label. Learn how to read the label. At first, it does take quite a bit more time to do your grocery shopping when you are reading the label for everything. But this is something that is a skill that is learned quickly, and it doesn't take forever. So put in the time now. Find a time when you can go to the store unrushed. Maybe your kids have a babysitter or grandma or husband is home to take care of them. And you go unrushed, unhurried with a list looking for products that are gluten-free, that you have time to read the label. Okay, so especially around holidays and around gathering times, when you are switching to a gluten-free lifestyle, it really is a mental shift. Our culture and our society is so conditioned maybe to eat at social gatherings. We go for the food more than we go for the social. Switching your eating habits, switching your food habits requires that you plan ahead and mentally plan ahead and think, why am I going to this event? Am I going because I'm going to feel deprived the whole time and I'm going to be cranky, or am I going to enjoy time with friends or family, or because this event matters to me? Right? So preparing mentally and planning ahead and saying, I'm going because I want to spend time with these people that I love, and not making the gathering all about food. Also plan ahead in your grocery shopping, right? Always shop with a grocery list and make sure to plan snack foods as well as meals for the week. There is nothing worse than when you're hungry and you're like, oh, I just need a snack, and everything that you have in your cupboard has gluten in it. Maybe it's stuff that your husband eats or your kids eats, but if you don't have any options, that is going to make it harder for you to stick to the gluten-free or the dairy-free or whatever it is, whatever item it is, ingredient that you're trying to cut out. So make sure to plan snack foods as well as meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When eating out also requires planning ahead. Research the online menu beforehand to decide what to eat when you get there, so you aren't overwhelmed with all the options and the noise of the restaurant. And maybe if your kids are there, that can be really distracting. If you're trying to have a conversation with your friends, it just eases a lot of that anxiety if you have done the research beforehand and you know what you can confidently order. Always have snacks on hand. If you are a mom, you probably already do this, but always have snacks on hand for those times when you're out and about and you're hungry and you're like, shoot, I don't know what I can eat. I don't know what my options are. I typically have a jerky stick always in my bag, almost always. I do have some granola bars. I like Lara bars because price wise and ingredients wise, they're a good balance for me and my family. Nuts are a good option, like a handful or a bag full of mixed nuts, fresh fruit, always on road trips or on the go. We have sliced up cucumbers, sliced up apples, carrots, fresh produce. If you're planning to be gone for a while, pack snacks. And also planning ahead when you're headed to parties. Contact the host beforehand to see what you could bring or what will be on the menu. You want to make sure that you have at least one thing at that table that you can eat. And if you don't feel fully confident that the host is providing a actually gluten-free item, bring your own. And you may need to eat before you go so you're not tempted to indulge on the breadbasket, right? You may not need to show up to the party or to the restaurant completely starving, because then you're going to grab what sounds good. And what sounds good is the thing that you're telling your body, no, I can't eat that. No, I probably shouldn't have the cheese ball because I'm trying to avoid dairy right now. No, I can't have the bread. So naturally, that's what I want to eat. Okay. Then you want to make sure that you are set up for success in your home. Fridge and pantry staples are a must. For a long time in my going gluten-free journey, I was actually doing quite a few things that I was trying to eliminate to help my body with inflammation, including gluten and dairy and soy. And I think eggs was in there too. I was like so overwhelmed, but I was trying to do it on a budget, trying not to be excessive in my spending. But one thing that I recommend to people now is if you are honestly trying to commit to a gluten-free or a dairy-free lifestyle, find flours or find, especially for gluten. So if you're going gluten-free, find flours that work as a 1-to-1 ratio for the recipes that you already make. If you're going dairy-free, look at the different dairy-free substitute options that you have. If you know that you like cream cheese on your bagels every single morning, find a dairy-free cream cheese that you can use so you don't feel deprived, right? If we just start where we're at, start making swaps for the little things, it doesn't have to feel like I am flipping my whole diet upside down. I'm flipping my whole life upside down. I'm never going to enjoy food again. And we don't have to have that mentality and that yucky feeling around food if we find the things that are good substitutes for now. And I'm going to be honest, you might go through of a couple of different products before you find the ones that you like, and it will feel really wasteful, especially because gluten-free products are not cheap. Dairy-free products are not always cheap. So find what tastes good, and don't be afraid to try a different brand if you don't like the one that you like. So for example, I tried the chickpea pasta, the Banza pasta, and it doesn't make me feel great. So I know that even though it is gluten-free and it's higher in protein and it is all these things, if it doesn't make me feel good, I'm not going to eat that one. So I know that I need to start looking for an alternative option to gluten-free noodles, gluten-free pasta. One that I have found that I like are the rice noodles, because they are very versatile. That's one I started using more in like Chinese dishes, and I especially love them crumbled up on top of like a cabbage, chicken, carrot, like shredded cabbage salad. So when it comes to your fridge and your pantry, you want to have a well-stocked fridge and pantry. It will reduce the urge or temptation to indulge in those glutinous foods or in those dairy foods or the foods that you know that you're trying to avoid. Watch for sales on gluten-free items. May and October are the celiac disease awareness months. Oftentimes, gluten-free items will go on sale during those months. So Good items to keep on hand are flour blends or a variety of flours if you would rather mix your own. If you want to mix your own, typically ones I always have on hand are almond flour, arrowroot, tapioca. Uh, I used to have a lot more oat flour and rice flour, but sorghum flour has a very nice texture. Amaranth flour has a very distinct flavor. I'm not a fan of that one, but there are lots of grain flours that are gluten free. You also want to have gluten free pasta on hand. Tamari or coconut aminos in as a replacement for soy sauce. Um, Soy sauce has gluten in it. So making that switch to cocoa aminos or coconut aminos or tamari. You want to have gluten-free grains on hand like rice, oats, millet. Quinoa is a really great option, higher in protein, a wide variety of nutrients available there. So if you're making the swap, my biggest recommendation is to look at the types of meals that you already plan, that you already have, that you've already been doing, and find swaps for the ingredients that you're trying to avoid. So, for example, if it's taco night and you're used to eating flour tortillas with your meat and your beans and your cheese and your lettuce and tomatoes and salsa and sour cream and all of that inside, start by, you don't have to eliminate anything else. You don't have to change anything else. Start by changing from flour tortillas to corn or teff or siete. Those are my recommendations. Depending on, so the corn ones are usually smaller. The siete ones are an almond flour. And then teff is a teff flour. One other thing to be mindful of, packaged seasonings, so prepackaged seasonings like gravy mixes and taco seasonings and other seasonings that come in the container where you rip off the top and you dump it in and you add a little bit of water. Those oftentimes use flour as a thickener. So again, going back to the very, very, very first recommendation, read the ingredients, read the ingredient list to know what is in the food that you're eating. Okay, making another swap. Instead of using soy sauce on your favorite dishes or in your favorite sauces, switch to coconut aminos or cocoa aminos or tamari is another one. I don't love tamari because it is soy based, and that is another thing that I try and avoid because I notice that it is inflammatory for me. That might not be the case for you, but for pasta, you can find a brand of gluten-free noodles that you like, or you can do spiralized butternut, or you can do like a long shred zucchini. I love being in the kitchen. I love cooking. I love having the tools that I need. So I have a tool from Pampered Chef that is called a veggie stripper. And basically it's like a big cheese grater, but you can put zucchini. I love it for zucchini, to make zucchini noodles. I just put the zucchini down long ways and I slide it along and I slide it back and I slide it along and I slide it back, and it makes really good zucchini noodles. You can cut it. You can use a spiralizer. I just really like that tool. Or spaghetti squash noodles. That can be a great option. This one is not a favorite of my family until I found more recently, I found a seasoned cheese block or wheel that it's kind of like a soft cheese. So I cut open my spaghetti squash. I season it like oil, salt and pepper, maybe some garlic, and then I'll put some of that cheese inside and then I'll bake it in the oven. And it improves the taste significantly. Some people will say, oh, just substitute spaghetti squash noodles for regular noodles and your kids won't even know. That has not been my experience. If that is your experience, oh my heck, I am so happy for you. But that has not been my experience with spaghetti squash noodles. And I like spaghetti squash. I grew up eating it. It's something that we had often in my home growing up. So it's not foreign to me. And it's not foreign to my kids either. They just don't prefer it especially if they could have regular noodles. Sandwich bread swaps. You could do a lettuce wrap. It works really well with um, the long head of like romaine or green leaf, um, or a butter lettuce. Or you can just take your sandwich ingredients. So if you're going to do like a ham and cheese sandwich, just cut those up and put them on top of a salad with some kind of dressing. If you can tolerate it, doing a long ferment sourdough, some people do okay with. The fermenting sourdough, the fermentation process allows for the gluten to break down more. So people with celiac disease probably won't be able to tolerate even long fermented sourdough. But people who are just sensitive might have better luck with it. Making swaps for pizza crust. You can do a cauliflower or zucchini crust. I have a recipe that I love for zucchini crust that is shredded zucchini, and you add almond flour and some seasonings and some eggs and some cheese. And you bake it first, and then you pull it out, put your toppings on top, and then you put it back in, and it's delicious. Or you can find Pinterest is a wonderful resource if you know what you're looking for. But if you just get on and start spiraling, it can feel really overwhelming. So if you get on and say gluten-free pizza crust, gluten-free homemade pizza crust, it will give you lots of recipes. I do have one on there that I love. So if you are trying to make this swap, reach out to me. I would love to share that recipe with you. Breadcrumb coating. So if you want to make some like chicken parmesan and you need a breadcrumb coating, panko is not gluten-free. And just like regular breadcrumbs are not gluten-free. I like to make my own with almond flour and nutritional yeast and seasonings. And it has a very similar effect, maybe not quite as crispy and crunchy. But I do make my own. A hamburger bun. If you're going to a picnic and you need, they're serving hamburgers, you can do a lettuce wrap, an iceberg lettuce wrap, or whatever lettuce they have available. Or sometimes I just put it on my plate and cut it up with a fork, or pick it up with my fingers and dip it in my ketchup or whatever, and eat it just like that. Going back to the taco seasoning mix, I actually do make a lot of my prepackaged seasoning mixes because it is a lot more cost effective to make your own, and you get to control the ingredients. So I do make a lot of my own taco seasoning, my own burger seasoning, my own seasoning salt, are just a few. I make my own ranch seasoning. So there are so many recipes on Pinterest. Like, seriously, if you have a specific something that you want to make, look it up on Pinterest. Chances are you'll find what you're looking for. I have a quick and easy gluten-free snack guide. If you are wanting that, reach out. I am happy to share it. Making any dietary swaps can feel really overwhelming, especially if you're doing more than one at a time. So if you do have that option, uh, focus on making one swap at a time. Sometimes, like for me, I was in such an inflammatory state. I really needed to get all of these triggers out as quickly as possible. So if that's the case for you, hopefully all of these tips and tricks will help. Just read the label, plan ahead, and just know that you can do this. I have been there, and I am I have so much sympathy for you as you are making the switch. It is not easy, but I know that it's possible, and I know that it's totally worth it to feel like you aren't in a fog, like your brain isn't in a fog, and you're not bloated all the time, and you're not sick and uncomfortable and constipated or having diarrhea. Like, if you are struggling or suffering from food and trying to make some of these swaps to see if it will help you feel better, I feel for you. I have been where you are, and I know that it's so difficult, but I know that it is worth it to wake up feeling energized, to feel like I'm not in a my brain isn't so foggy that I can't even think straight and I can't make good decisions and I can't plan my day well. Um, it feels so good to not feel in pain and achy from the food that you're eating. It feels so good to finally take care of your body. And if you are feeling this push or this prompt to go gluten free from yourself, right? Don't make everyone else feel like you need to go gluten free. But if you are feeling like, I wonder if this would help, just even try it. Try it for 2 weeks, try it for 30 days and see if it makes a difference for you. It has made a world of a difference for me. I have significantly fewer headaches. I have way less bloating. Um, Only when I eat 5 pieces of sourdough, right? Because it's fresh and out of the oven and delicious. And why wouldn't you want to have 5 pieces of sourdough? Um, but I'm learning to listen to my body and know that is enough. Enough is enough. I'm making that intentional choice to take care of my body. And you may have a lot of pushback from family members who maybe don't understand it. Um, but if there is a food or if there is something that is really making you sick and a family member says something to you about it, about you going gluten free, oh, that's just a fad, that's just a trend, you can say, no, actually, gluten is making me sick. So I'm cutting it out so I don't have to feel sick all the time. Not that you need to explain yourself, but if it helps you to feel better, to stand in that power in knowing that you are doing what is best for your body, please speak up for yourself. Do not feel embarrassed. Do not feel ashamed. You have the right as a human being to feel good in your body. And if this is what it takes, if it takes going gluten free, if it takes going dairy free, if it takes cutting out soy, if it takes cutting out a certain food so that you can feel better, you deserve that. You deserve a life that is not filled with pain from the foods that you're eating, right? You have that power and that freedom to make a different choice for you and for your body. And it does not matter what anybody else says about you going gluten free and whether they think it's a fad or a trend or how long it's going to last. It doesn't matter. And if they are going to be mean about it, maybe just don't talk to them about it, or maybe they don't belong in your life. I know that's really harsh to say, but if you're going to make these lifestyle changes, you are going to need people on your side, cheering for you, not tearing you down every time you turn around. I know that going gluten-free can be really hard, but I know it's also really rewarding. And if you need someone in your corner, I want to be in that corner with you. I want to be there cheering you on and saying, you got this, girl, you can go, you do this. You are taking charge of your body, and I want you to be so proud of yourself. And I am proud of you for making these changes to help your body to feel better, right? You're having that inspiration and that prompting for a reason. Start listening to those promptings, that intuition. Your body knows what it needs. Don't wait for it to scream, I need this, right? Don't wait for it. Don't wait for the scream. Follow those promptings, follow that intuition before your body has to scream for help. Okay. It was a little bit loaded there at the end. Thank you for sticking it out with me. This was kind of one of my longer episodes. I felt like I had a lot to say about going gluten-free. If you are wanting more help, maybe you have a lot more inflammation in your body, you really aren't sure what it is that's causing it. At the very bottom of my show notes, I have a gift for you. It's a guide for extinguishing the burn. It's an anti-inflammatory guide, and part of finding food triggers is part of the guide or part of the protocol. But there are 10 tips in there, 10 things that you can start doing today to reduce the inflammation and the pain in your body to support you as you are making these food swaps. So if that would be helpful for you, check out the link at the bottom of the show notes. It's the the Burn, an anti-inflammatory guide. And that will also allow you to get recipes from me. So recipes that I share in here, talking about my taco seasoning or my pizza recipe, my zucchini crust. I share those types of things in my email once a week or every other week. I really don't want to overload you with email, but I do want to provide helpful tips, tricks, recipes, information for you. I am all about teaching. I'm all about learning as much as I can and sharing that knowledge and information with you. Thank you for being here today, and I look forward to hearing from you. I want to know what's working from you. So reach out, get that free gift at the bottom of the show notes. Have a great day.